The World Poker Tour, the premier name in television gaming and entertainment, was grappling with the challenges in version control and efficient management of its media content. In our next session, hear how the World Poker Tour with Ateliere's Connect is now leveraging a full cloud workflow from content distribution through to creation. Please welcome Kira Baca from Ateliere and Marc Dion from World Poker Tour Enterprises. Team.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, I know you said you're a solutions architect, but I thought you were more of like a professional MC.
I'm a solution architect.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to put a British accent on to sound.
Yeah, more.
Yeah.
I'll do lessons afterwards.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. Bit of an Anglophile.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm very excited to be here with our partner, with our customer from World Poker Tour. And let's just start quickly by introducing yourself, Marc.
Sure. Marc Dion. I'm the Director of Distribution and Ad Sales at World Poker Tour. You'll hear us use the acronym WPT a lot. Understand that's World Poker Tour. My mandate, my remit is to make sure that we're getting the show out to as many platforms as possible, while also finding different efficiencies and working internally to make sure we're doing that in a cost-effective manner.
I'm Kira Baca. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Ateliere. I have the pleasure of working with customers from the very beginning, learning about their problems, figuring out how we can solve them, and then working with them throughout their journey with our platform. So we're going to talk a little bit about how Marc and I met, how we implemented the system, some of the interesting parts about the challenges that your business has had, and how we helped solve them. So I'm actually going to start with a little preview video, a teaser video.
We don't want people to just have a poker experience. We want them to go on a journey, have a great time, meet some people, and go all in.
Tonight is a huge fundraiser for us. I want to win it.
We've got a party going on here, a poker party.
I'm back. We're going to raise over $1 million tonight.
Can you believe it? Unbelievable.
Another WPT poker night.
I watch World Poker Tour? Yeah, absolutely. Kidding me?
Very nice.
Thank you. I didn't do that.
A poker party. I heard that in there. I'm sure nobody's had a poker party since they've been here in Vegas. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about World Poker Tour?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Interestingly enough, World Poker Tour started out simply as a TV show, and it's really grown from there. And as you heard our CEO, Adam Pliska, say, it's really an experience that we want to give everybody, a premium experience, whether it's watching our show, they're playing in a tournament, or with our apps. You know, we have different mobile or desktop apps where you can play poker. So by the numbers, we've been around for 22 years, founded in 2002. As I'd mentioned, we started out as a TV show, and then it really grew to now doing 40 tournaments a year around the globe. We've raised $50 million, we've raised $50 million for charitable events and philanthropic acts. In addition to that, we've really grown our show. We've been broadcasted in 56 different countries, and now we are more or less all over the globe through our omni-channel approach of streaming. So we have fast channels. We have 4 of them. They're localized in 3 languages. Well, English, Brazilian Portuguese, and Spanish. In addition to that, we have another channel called WPT Live, where we really focus on our live events and doing live streaming. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we have our gaming apps, Club WPT and WPT Global. So very expanded quite a bit from a humble TV show that was the idea of a Steve Lipscomb and a Adam Pliska to now a touring event all over the world over the last 22 years. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you are constantly in production, right? So there's no season for what you're doing. You're constantly producing. It's real money as well. I mean, it's an interesting just operation in general for your tours, your tournaments.
Yep.
Just in terms of some of the use cases, which we're going to get into, you're constantly in production, you're constantly uploading and ingesting assets, editing them and putting them back out as quickly as possible. You've created a lot of content.
Yep.
And we'll talk a little bit more about those business models, but I want to talk about the revenue model because I think what's interesting, certainly what's been interesting for me to learn more about World Poker Tour is, you don't fit into the traditional category of traditional studio entertainment, right? You sort of straddle gaming, sports, TV content. You've had a broadcast background, and then you've now gone into lots of different omni-channel, fast channel. So tell me a little bit about the revenue model behind World Poker Tour.
Sure. Yeah. The revenue model at the beginning was pretty simple, right? When it was a TV show, try to get, monetize that the traditional way through advertising or through license fees and things like that. But with the advent of streaming and the advent of fast channels, starting around 2015 or so, that really changed as we embraced this new platform, and programmatic advertising, dynamic ad insertion really changed our focus. So we still do, the traditional broadcast model as much as possible. We're still on Bally Sports Network, we're on Rogers in Canada, TV Azteca in Mexico. But now we got this global reach as people are more and more using connected televisions, connected devices, OTT. So ad revenue has really become a big part of our earnings. And we're promoting our apps along with the show. Within the show, we promote Club WPT. That's a subscription service. I like to call it World of Warcraft for poker players.
You like to call it what?
Oh, World of Warcraft. You're not a nerd. It's fine. Anyone play World of Warcraft at some point? There we go. I only got to level 80. Main tank orc warrior.
I am a nerd, but.
And just not with orcs and dragons. Yeah, I understand. So yeah, the business model has certainly changed from there. And, as we go back and searching for sponsorships to integrate into our show, that's another piece. And that's really kind of where Ateliere comes in and helps with that workflow as we, to get a little geeky on it, looking at the IMF workflows and things like that. So we're working with essences and just the recipes, the ingredients with a recipe to bake out a new show without having to store it in cold storage or in the freezer.
I think we've called it the pizza recipe of the past. But before we get there, we'll talk a little bit more about the pizza recipe. There is one word that brought us together. Do you know what that word is?
Am I allowed to say it? Make sure you have the beep.
The word is versionitis.
Versionitis.
I know it sounds like, I don't know.
It sounds like a disease. It sounds like a disease.
So this, this is the wiki description of versionitis, which is a situation in which there are many different and possibly incompatible versions of the same software, file, or document. I'm sure no one in this audience has any idea what that's like, or everyone does.
I hope they do if they're here, because it's a conversation that we should have for sure.
So when I first met Marc and his colleagues, Ian and Locke, literally the words out of there, I was like, what brought you to Ateliere? And he was like, versionitis. And I was like, can you explain? So talk about how that brought you to meeting with us.
Yeah. All the credit goes to our director of content operations and post-production, Ian Madison. He's very humble. He doesn't want me to point him out, but go ahead, stand up, Ian. There you go. So Ian really started, early on, maybe around 2008 or so. We started having different brands of the show, and that caused that first split of a version. And he had recognized that there is there's a problem that is eventually going to need to be solved at some point. And he remembers an article that Dan wrote about versionitis.
Also give some credit, Dan Goman, our CEO, founder of Ateliere.
So, as I recall correctly, Ian reached out to Dan, and then Dan got us connected, and now we're here. We walked in, we had a conversation, and I think the light bulb hit. Oh, Ateliere had built the platform very much with our use case in mind, or that kind of use case.
Yeah, and that's very true. I think the platform really set out to solve that problem, to solve the multiple versions, to solve versionitis.
Right.
And also just because storage costs and growing versions and storing versions and finding versions and creating new versions, is in fact versionitis. So talk about, what solving that problem meant for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we recognized that we weren't agile enough to be able to create the different versions of the show for our customers. So we have traditional cuts for our networks like Bally's, and that has totally different requirements than what I need to send over to like Roku or Tubi or Pluto, Samsung. So we're storing all these different versions, and it was frankly becoming very unmanageable. The media management side was very difficult. We were seeing bottlenecks when we were using third parties, outsourcing a lot of the work to conform one version to another version and have it sent out to, basically a lab to deliver it to the platforms. The cost of that was, beginning to increase. So we really wanted to say, okay, if we can get a handle on bringing this in-house and cutting or shortening those hops or removing those hops at all, then we'd be in better shape. And so that's so far, that's how it's been working. Now we've trimmed a lot of, outsourcing and fat from the process. That's allowing us to, go to market faster, but also, reduce our storage footprint.
Yeah. And I'd like to tell the story because I think it's a really important message about how companies find cost savings today. Seems like it's a constant challenge to be handed down to say, can you do what you're doing faster and for less money? Or even just, can you do what you're doing for less money? Right. And that's just it's a problem that's hit certainly every studio, every content company, to reduce costs. And operate more efficiently and operate just at a less of a cost. And a lot of times that means, unfortunately for a lot of us, a lot of our friends have, and our colleagues and past coworkers have been a part of layoffs and, just really, really hard time in the media industry in that level, especially in the tech industry. And I really feel very proud that we helped solve a problem, but I also really like that when you were sort of tasked to look at doing something and coming up with a cost savings, that you turned to technology to do that and put the onus back on the technology company to prove that cost savings was there. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your experience with that. I mean, I know that we're all very proud of the project that we've done together, but I think that's just a message that feels very strong. Put the cost savings into the tech.
Right. Yeah, no, we're very open to new tech and how it can empower us to do more with less. We are a small team, but I'm not going to be modest. We're a smart team too. We can figure it out. And so using tech to be able to take away a lot of those kind of monotonous, tasks, has been super helpful. And, we're in a stage in our life cycle where especially the fast market, the fast landscape, becoming more and more competitive. So we need to differentiate our viewer experience as much as possible. So we need to do more with what we have. And so if I can have a post editor, if I can take him away from having to do a layback or some type of conforming, he can be doing some cool stuff like a new trivia slate or different things, how we can engage our audience while they're viewing. So, we're really looking at being able to keep the team together, and do more with what we have, either at the same cost or if we can lower, which was our goal, was to certainly lower our costs year over year.
Yeah, the team, I'm just while you're not being humble, I'll add to that. The team is great. And also just as a software provider and as a partner, the team coming together to partner with us for a successful implementation, it's a huge part of the success, right? So you own your part, we own our part, we come together to deliver it. And that's been just a really wonderful success story, I think, for both of us. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
So we wouldn't be at NAB 2024 if we didn't talk about AI.
Yes.
Hopefully no one here is playing the AI drinking game, because if you are, you've had a rough go of it.
They're not here.
They're not here. But I think it's important to talk about how AI is being implemented in your workflow, in
Sure.
your supply chain, and also where you're looking at AI.
Sure. Let me preface that by publicly stating to our future robot overlords, I embrace you and your rule. We've actually really implemented AI in a lot of ways. Obviously, frame DNA with Ateliere, which has allowed us to, again, go into the pizza analogy, create recipes, separate the ingredients, and bake the show when we need it, not having a bunch of frozen pizzas in our garage freezer. But in addition to that, we've really relied on AI to help us with our localization and global expansion efforts, with AI dubbing and things like that. And then finally, also with closed captioning. But there is one caveat that I want to state when we do use AI, and that is there's always a human element to it. Whatever companies we work with that are leveraging AI, there is a human workflow where there's a quality check to make sure does that work. For example, our AI dubbing company for Brazilian Portuguese and Spanish, Paper Cup, they have expert interpreters and translators that listen to the AI dub and are teaching the machine this is the right inflection, this is the right intonation, so on and so forth. So Rev.com, who we use for closed captioning, they also have quality assurance to check, like, did the AI capture that correctly? And then even within our workflow, within Ateliere Connect, there's always that QC check. Do we make sure that, with the frame DNA and all the segmentation and all that stuff, is it correct? And can we make some tweaks as we need to? So AI has certainly taken over a lot of these monotonous tasks that now, like, empower and enable our team to do more fun and cool stuff. But we still want to make sure that we can't trust it all the way, right? Especially with these large language models, there's at some point, I think, I've heard that obviously they've ingested a ton of data already, but, they hallucinate and things like this. So you don't want this negative feedback loop of AI ingesting other AI content, and then all of a sudden, you're just going down a spiral. So the human element is very important to us.
I would think you have a very knowledgeable audience too, right? I mean, someone's going to watch a poker tour because they know an awful lot about poker and they care an awful lot about the game and how it's played. So that interpretation or that localization is going to be, you can't really have mistakes. And when you have such a dedicated audience, that quality level's got to be, that's the case for, I would think, any quality level in that, in AI dubbing or subtitling. But, I think you have a very unique audience, of people who really are completely in tune with playing poker. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Poker players are gamers. I mentioned World of Warcraft before. Gamers are very vocal. So, we want to you're going to hear about it. So we want to make sure we get it right. And, we love our fans. They're very passionate. So we want to do right by them, regardless of what language it's in, that it's accurate and it's high quality.
We talked a little bit about the changing models. So what are some of the, FAST, I think, was one of the real drivers for you looking at how to change your operating model.
Right.
What do you think is next? What's next for your business, and how do you anticipate that? And what business model changes do you see coming?
Yeah, I think, for us, we're very much into what fast and ad-supported streaming, whether it's AVOD or these free ad-supported streaming channels are fast channels. It's really on the ad tech side, I think, where for us, as we focus more on live events and live streams, how can we monetize those better? And how can we have an experience that is that we're all used to when we watch an NBA game, or if we watch an NFL game, if it's a slow break in the action, you got a picture-in-picture video ad, things like that. So wanting to bring that into the fast space, for us, I think is a real big part of it. And how can we do a little bit more from an AI standpoint, programmatically integrate brands as sponsors into our show, right? We have the traditional model where we can, on the felt at the table, you can have a brand and everyone's looking at it. But what if, like, next year we have a new sponsor? How can we replace that? So I think we're going to see, bits of AI, bits of, dynamic ad insertion, and just new ways of targeting users or viewers to the right brand within our show, because that's our bread and butter.
We're coming to the end of our questions soon. I have one more question for you. Actually, I have two. So are there any upcoming goals for World Poker Tour? Anything you can share about your business, what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly one is expanding more globally. As we support our different gaming apps like WPT Global, we want to get into those markets that are important for real money gaming, so you can actually play poker with real money. So that's a big initiative for us. It's a big strategy that is across the entire organization, is to promote WPT Global, and we could do so with our show. In addition to that, kind of what I mentioned before is how can we optimize our current assets to generate more revenue, increase ad load, things like that. That's really kind of a short-term goal. Long-term, I think it's really to continue growing the company, do more tours, have more partners and sponsors, and really just grow the business through any touch point we have with our players and our viewers.
Great. Well, I guess I will turn this over to the audience. Are there any questions that you have for Marc? Poker tips? Anything more from anyone here?
This is on? Good. It seems like your kind of content is really ripe for deep levels of rich metadata tagging that would allow audiences to search for it in a variety of ways, in very specific ways. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you've done to tag the content with deep metadata.
Sure. And Gray, nice to see you.
How you doing?
Thanks for the chat. You better buy him dinner. Yeah.
She did last night.
Perfect.
But I didn't ask him to ask a question.
Fair enough. If Ian wasn't so humble, I'd have him answer that question for you. But what we've done is we do have a ton of metadata. You're right. We have a ton of metadata and different data from 22 years of poker hands that we've collected. It's a huge database, along with our logs of what hands were played, player, so on and so forth. But you bring up a very interesting challenge where we haven't done a good job of tagging our content with that deep, rich metadata where we can search, I want to see Phil Hellmuth's bad beats, things like that. That is a goal that we have, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is certainly a goal that Ian and I have talked about a lot. How can we accomplish that? Because it's super important, and that's only going to improve our workflow even further. So if you have any ideas, Gray, please.
Well, it's funny because I had a question that I skipped because I felt like it was a bit of a shameless plug. But I do think when you problems or solutions that you need, it's really important to work with technology partners that can help identify the problem, or help find the solution for the problem, and grow, whether that's our services or partnered services, that we, at the end of the day, the ecosystem has to integrate. So if there are problems that need to be solved, that either can be solved in our software or instead of partner software, the importance of having all of this workflow integrate so that those tags come in and reference the content you've got and connect, which is easily findable, searchable, sortable, manipulatable, and then sent out. Those are all the challenges, I think, of technology companies. And once again, I feel really passionate about it's a technology company's job to find the cost and the time savings and present those to the customers. And these are really important things for all of us to collaborate on, and our sort of ecosystem of partnerships as well, that can solve those kind of problems. And then by identifying them and sitting down and having these good conversations, we can start to say that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense from a monetization standpoint. How you find things and what you do with them and how you exploit them is really what I think it's the platforms and the partnerships job to find those solutions, because the revenue models that you're going to experience going forward are going to evolve, right?
Right.
Those clips, those moments, when things happen in the world and you have something that's relevant, that you can take and monetize, just helps grow your business, and helps expand your brand,
Right.
which I know we were talking earlier about WPT. Steve was like, what is WPT? It's World Poker Tour. Not to call you out, but it's important to your brand to become identifiable by WPT, just like NFL
Right.
and NBA. And so by having these opportunities to monetize content in these sort of clippable, consumable ways, it has to be found, right? It has to be found quickly. And those
Exactly.
are just opportunities to support your brand's recognition.
Yeah, exactly. And, to Grace's point with the rich metadata and being able to find those clips, we have a team that manages our YouTube channel, and they're using shorts all the time, to conduct our user acquisition for our different platforms. So if we can really streamline that, which is a big goal, like I mentioned for us, it'll just only empower us to make more content versus slogging around and looking for, where are these clips that I need? Like, oh, let me type in Phil Hellmuth, bad beat. Oh, he's crying. Yay. So now you have a compilation, 60 seconds, 60 seconds short of that goes viral because this guy's a big baby. I shouldn't say that. Oh boy. But it's all in good fun. So yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, well then we're coming up on time, but we did have a little game I wanted to play. So I'd like to encourage the audience, if you feel like joining along, we're going to play a little game of fact and fiction, and this is not highly technical, so don't be shy. But poker, is it considered an official sport?
The company answer is yes.
So we did not practice this. He has not seen these questions. The official answer is, yes. Poker was deemed a mind sport by the International Mind Sport. So you can officially call poker a sport.
Excellent.
Okay. Famous poker player Johnny Chan, winner of 10 World Series of Poker bracelets. He carried a kiwi fruit around during the games. Anybody know this guy or why he might or might not have carried a kiwi fruit?
It was an orange.
You are right. It is an orange, because he didn't like the smell of the tobacco.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
he would carry the orange to help sniff while he was playing and keep him focused.
Wow. I totally guessed.
So next time I'm in Vegas and you see me walking around with an orange,
Got
I don't know
him.
why.
Got him.
Okay. You can only play Texas Hold'em in Texas. And if I could dance, I'd do that dance right now, but I can't.
No, you could play Texas Hold'em in Vegas. So no,
That is fiction. You can play Texas Hold'em anywhere.
right.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. The Yakuza, the Japanese organized crime syndicate, got their name from the worst hand dealt in traditional Japanese poker.
Fact.
Fact. Yes. So they got their name from a combination of Ya, Ku, and Za, which are the worst possible hand to be dealt.
Wow.
Okay.
Is anyone watching Tokyo Vice? So good.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. You should know this. Guaranteed winnings have been some of the largest in poker history, including a $25 million guarantee at last year's WPT World Championship at the Wynn.
That is fiction. That is false. It is 40 million guaranteed.
You're so right. It's 40 million. See, you know your content. I'm so proud of you. Aren't you proud of him?
And if people were paying attention, it was like the second slide. I think it said that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I wasn't.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. Poker used to be played with 20 cards.
False. Fiction.
It's a
fact.
I hope. I mean, we did just look this up on the internet, so. Let's see. Oh, this is my favorite.
Because you could believe everything on the internet, guys. I just let you know.
Former President Gerald Ford funded his first political campaign with poker winnings.
That's fiction.
It is, but wait. Of course, it was Richard Nixon.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna skip this one. And we're gonna go to this one. Marc won the WPT Holiday Party Tournament, poker tournament in 2023 and was in the money in a tournament in the inaugural World Poker Voyage Crew. Okay, so this is for me.
That's for you.
Right. So did you win the world? I'm gonna say fiction.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't. I'm a
You did
terrible
not
poker
win
player.
the poker.
No, actually, the holiday party was won by our media manager, Christy Chu,
Uh-huh.
who can't be here with us today, but shout
Did
out.
you win a lot of money?
I can't say exactly because we don't want to get her in trouble with the IRS,
Yeah.
But on the WPT voyage, which just happened this first week of May, Locke over here at VP Studio, she was in the money on one of the tournaments.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Well, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you so much for being an incredible partner. You're very easy to talk to as well. So thank you.
Thanks. And can we edit the Phil Hellmuth thing out, please?
Kira, Marc, excellent session. Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause.